Welcome, everyone, to Breaking Big Blue. I'm your host, Jordan Raanan on ESPN. ESPN.com Giants reporter here. A little collaboration with the Giants Nation show, our Monday show. By the way, I appreciate all you out there. The feedback has been great. I bumped into somebody before the game the other day. Sorry, I don't remember your name. I know you're a teacher. You were in the front row before the game. You told me how much you liked it. I told you kind of I was going to do it. We were going to do this today in the afternoon because this is a little different week. This is the trade deadline week. We know the Giants are 2-7. We'll get to the game in a minute. But I want this primarily to be about the trade deadline. And I know it's not going to last that long. A lot of the information will only live for 26 hours right now. But I think this is what people want to know. It's what they want to talk about. It's what they ask me. The first thing, when people are coming by, trick-or-treating my boy Joe from down the street. Hey, Jordan, are they going to trade for Jalen Waddle? It's the number one question I get right now. So we're going to answer that in a minute. We're going to answer who the Giants are talking about trading, at least that I know of. Obviously, I'm not talking to everyone. I'm taking a sample of people I know around the league who have talked to the Giants and passing it along here. We'll get to that. And players the Giants could possibly be looking to move. So we'll get to that in a second. But the number one thing off this loss, they lose 34-24. Wasn't even that close. Actually, was a terrible game from pretty much start to finish after the opening drive. The offense even, I know a lot of people are saying Jackson Dart played well. I think for the most part, this was maybe one of my least favorite Jackson Dart games. He finished strong, but that game was kind of getting out of hand in the fourth quarter. They shut down after the opening drive. They had less than 100 total yards of offense in the first half. They couldn't do anything. And he's seeing teams operate and defend him differently. I still think he was able to do some things, Jackson Dart. He's not getting helped, right? Theo Johnson, another huge drop. That's 5 on the year, according to our ESPN system. By the way, we are super liberal. They're very tough graders on drops. So to have 5 drops is a lot. And then Darius Slayton had another one. He actually was fine during this game, but that drop is just, you can't have it kind of play. It's just making him a villain on this team, those kind of plays, and for good reason in that regard. The way he played in New Orleans earlier this year, that was brutal. The way he played, that drop yesterday, even though it was late in the game, terrible. Can't do it. And it all comes back to the idea of, are Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll safe? And I want to bring this. We're not going to talk about it too much because that'll be a topic for later on. But this is the quote that's on top of my file here in my computer. It's from John Mara, the last time he talked at the end of last year. I'm aware of how many games we've won, and obviously the results are not close to what we want them to be. They're going to have to get better if we're going to move on to year, and he said 4, but he meant to say year 5. All right. They're 2-7. That's on pace for 4-13. Yes, it's better than 3-14, but let's be honest, that's bad. They're not going to be able to survive if you go 4-13. That's bad. I don't care what Jackson Dart does. It's going to be hard, especially for the head coach here, to survive. Now, the general manager, I know Bobby mentioned this in this thing. Yes, the general manager is in a safer position. He was last year. He still is now. Does it mean there's a scenario where he can't go? No, that does not. But if there is a scenario where it could fall on Brian Daboll and not Joe Schoen, we'll get into more of that as we move forward here. But the defense, an absolute abomination, 30-plus points, no defending it. The pass rush had one of their worst games, even against a poor offensive line. Now, granted, I'll give a little excuse here for the defensive front. When the quarterback's getting rid of the ball in 2.36 seconds, that's what Mac Jones did. It's going to be hard to get home often. And the problem here is not only is he getting rid of the ball in 2.36 seconds, but he's getting easy completions in 2.36 seconds, which, if you put it together, just is an absolute disaster. Can't happen. Just a total mess. That's an unsustainable way of playing. He completed his first 14 passes in the game. The defense is a mess right now. The back end's terrible. The linebackers are Darius Muasau, by the way, he was struggling badly. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles was actually an upgrade for a while, but the 49ers, by the end, were just 8 straight runs to get in the end zone, to basically go up by 3 scores in the fourth quarter. Just suck the souls out of the Giants defense. And we're taping this on Monday afternoon. Brian Burns, who is one of the most accountable players in the locker room, always stands there, always takes questions, always handles it like a pro. He was so demoralized yesterday. He got out of there quickly. He was that frustrated. He's going to talk today in like a half hour, actually. But just the fact that Brian Burns was out of there that quickly, to me, that says something. That tells me the frustration level that exists with this team. Now, the trade deadline, forget the games. They're 2-7. They don't play a losing team potentially until after Thanksgiving. That's the likelihood, right? You got the Bears, you got the Packers, you got the Lions, and you got the Patriots up next. It's not going to get any easier. It's not going to be a lot of wins. Jackson Dart's going to take his lumps as a rookie and going to have to learn from it while getting beat up. Okay? The offensive line, been fine, but doesn't have great weapons, which brings you to the wide receiver talk, right? At 2-7, it makes almost no sense and look at where the Giants are as a team as a whole. They don't have anywhere near enough talent. They already don't have a third-round pick. They're not like the Eagles, who, by the way, traded a third-round pick today, but are supposed to have 9 picks in next year's draft, right? Still have 9 picks, I believe. You know, with compensatory picks, they were going to have 3 third-round picks, so they're giving up one of their 3 third-round picks for a pass rusher on an expiring contract. They could take that risk because they're in a position where they're A, trying to win, Giants are not, and B, have the draft capital, have all this currency. The Giants don't have currency. Trading for Jalen Waddle now, to me, almost doesn't even make sense. The Giants can't keep buying, bringing in, trading for players at high prices and building their team that way. That's how you end up with a team that's 2-7, doesn't have anywhere near enough talent. And by the way, guess what? They're basically up against the salary cap because that's how they bring in players like Brian Burns. They had he's their top edge rusher. Sure, you trade for him, but you have to pay him a lot of money. That's all part of the bringing in players that way. I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's a good move. But you can only do so many of those moves, right? You're bringing in your starting left guard. You're bringing in your starting right tackle. You're starting middle linebacker at $10 million. You're starting top safety in Javon Holland. Your number 1 cornerback. All these players are bought and come with a price. You're going to have to build. And the best way to build, by the way, is to get that currency and throw numbers at the draft. And draft a lot of players. You're not going to hit all these draft picks. We've seen that. The Giants have probably hit too low a percentage. You need to hit higher. But so trading for a player like Jalen Waddle, to me, doesn't make sense. And on top of that, I keep talking to people around the league. I keep asking, Miami doesn't really want to get rid of him. So if you want Jalen Waddle, you're likely going to have to overpay for him. You know, at best, you're talking about like a second-round pick, maybe more. A second plus another pick. Let's just say it's a second and a 6th. Giants will basically leave themselves, you can make it a future 6th-round pick, but the Giants will basically be leaving themselves with very little in the draft in regards to draft capital. To me, they're not in position to do that. And if you listen to people around the league, and Adam Schefter said it, highly unlikely that the Dolphins, even though they blew out their general manager, Chris Greer, are going to trade Jalen Waddle. So I wouldn't expect that right now. The Giants haven't had talks about wide receivers, but to me, and from hearing people around the league talk, it does not appear they're going to be in line to make a significant wide receiver move at this time. All right. They've shopped Evan Neal and Jalen Hyatt, of course, right? And everyone's like, duh, of course. They don't even play for this team. Jalen Hyatt was a kick returner the other day, right? That's his role right now. He's playing no offense. Evan Neal was only active because they ran out of guys to put inactive. There was too many injured guys. So, yeah, anything you can get for those guys, the Giants basically would. So they're looking to trade Evan Neal and Jalen Hyatt if they can. The problem is, and I spoke to people around the league about this, I said, do they have any value? And the answer was basically pick swap at best. Evan Neal, probably not going to even be able to trade him. He's got, 8 games left on his current contract. So is any other team going to trade for Evan Neal for 8 games when he's probably going to provide them zilch for 8 games? The answer is likely no. Maybe get a pick swap, at best. You'll probably have to eat some of his contract on top of it. You're not going to get much if you get anything. Jalen Hyatt at least has one more year of control. You'd have to find a team that maybe liked him before the draft, say, hey, you know what? We think we can make something of this. Maybe. But again, very minimal in return. Maybe a pick swap at best. Not going to get much for those guys. Giants do not, and I've talked to other teams about this, have not shown any inclination to want to trade Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, sure, there's a price for everyone. You could probably get blown away. But they have not shown any indication of trading Kayvon Thibodeau right now. Maybe you could trade him in the offseason if you wanted to, if that's a decision you make later on. But they actually made an effort. That's how they wanted to build this team. Build it with a strong front and strong pass rushers. So Kayvon Thibodeau is part of that, right? At least for now. He's under control. They have the 50-year option next year. You have a franchise tag the year after that, if they so choose, or whoever trades for him so chooses. So there are options with Evan Neal. There's with Kayvon Thibodeau, some controllability there. It would give him some value. Are you going to get a first-round pick for Kayvon Thibodeau? No. The answer is definitely no. You're not going to get that high pick for Kayvon Thibodeau right now. And so I don't think the Giants are making a move there. Deonte Banks, maybe there's minimal value in him there, but the Giants are starting him and playing him as their number one cornerback. I'd be surprised if they ended up moving on from him there. As somebody told me, they're not going to, and this is another person's opinion, they don't think the Giants really want to trade any of these guys that are draft picks because it then has a negative connotation on them and the job they're doing. Would be, if true, would be totally the wrong reasons. That was just one executive's opinion on another team. If true, totally the wrong reasons. You build your team however best you can build your team. Worrying about perception would be lunacy. I'll give him enough credit where I don't think that they really would do that. If somebody offered him like a fifth-round pick for Deonte Banks right now, that they would actually do it. But, man, the fact that people even think that about them right now just tells you where the Giants are as an organization. Russ and Jameis, the Giants quarterbacks, I haven't seen – I've called around. I haven't found anyone who has interest in them, right? And those two players themselves, I've talked to people, they really want to stay with the Giants anyway, right? They're living in New York. They came to New York for a reason. There's a benefit. Their families are there. So I don't see them unless a unknown quarterback shooter comes to light. Right now, there does not appear to be anyone looking for a quarterback that fits either the bill for those two guys, where you basically say, well, we need them as a starter and it's our only chance to salvage a season here. And so the likelihood is both of them stay. Russell Wilson's contract expires and Jameis Winston falls into the role of why they signed him for a 2-year deal, and he's the backup next year to Jackson Dart. With that being said, Bobby, I see you chomping at the bit back there. You want to jump in? Any questions? I'm going to create 10 trade hypotheticals in a minute here, so stay tuned, where Bobby and me and myself are going to answer of whether we would do it, of trades, potential trades out there. We'll have some fun with that. So first, Bobby, welcome. I mean, you're taking your Pepto-Bismol, you're eating your Cheez-Its. You're pretty much demoralized from our conversations over the last 24 hours. You're just a man sapped of his will.
So I know it's week 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel gross about this team, where it's like everything about this team is just slimy. Maybe this is because this is my first time being this deep into a team and them hitting year 4 and 3 bad years.
What do you mean by slimy?
So I'll say this is I'm not a source guy, but like some people have conversations with me, and they just make it like that. Like when I'm talking like, there's Aiken, like I'm telling you, Joe's safe. Speaking of Joe Schoen, and that just feels so ridiculous to me. The fact that they're 2-7, and it's again terrible, right? All their Connor Hughes, I thought, made a great point last night, talking about how.
You sure, Connor?
I know, like you don't say that, but I thought he made a great point. Is like,
that's my boy.
they scapegoated the quarterback. They said their left tackle was injured. And then what was the other one? Shoot. It was quarterback, left tackle, and then
defense.
No, it was something else. In fact, let me pull up my Bleacher Report document that I did because I put it in there. But anyways, it's just like they're this bad, and how is it not just like hey, they better turn this around or they're getting fired? It's an idea of like, nope, it's got to get worse. It's got to get even worse. Brian Daboll, I think, is obviously trending that direction. But the fact that Joe Schoen has any sort of security, let alone enough to where people are telling me I'm telling you, man, he's cozied up to the right people or whatever. It's just, to me, that's just gross.
I've been telling you this for a year, though.
I know, but it's unbelievable. We're and another losing. That's what it was. The reasons for staying around was well, if they get their quarterback and Andrew Thomas is healthy, and look at this 2024 draft class.
Oh, the 2024 draft
class looks very bad, right? It looks very bad. Even the one guy outside of Malik Neighbors who I was willing to be I'm cool with that one though. That one is solid. Doesn't mean you can't go get a running back, but that one's solid. He got less carries than Devin Singletary in the first game post Cam Scatterbo. So he went from not even having this as a 1-2 punch to he's not even getting the most carries out of the backups.
Their best draft class right now is probably the 22 one, and that's with Evan Neal being the total bust.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Micah McFadden, Dane Belton, Daniel Bellinger. At least those are contributors in the later rounds. Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe not in the second round, but he's still a player. He's still a quality player.
Yeah, you got 4 starters.
Thibodeau player. Yeah.
And you have 4 that does look like the best class. And I haven't I'm not sitting here saying I've given up on the 24 class. Guys like Drew Phillips, Theo Johnson's so frustrating because it's just catch the damn ball and
but he has a chance to be a player and a real starter in this league. So we'll see. I mean, you have me defending Theo Johnson. Just what kind of world does this become?
I know, but the point being is all right, so the quarterback that you scapegoated is playing very well for the Colts. In fact, even the quarterback you brought in is playing well. Your left tackle is playing at an all-pro level. And guess what? And that draft class doesn't look so good anymore. So, what is the excuse now to be 2-7, right? And when does the finger pointing stop for these guys? And it's unbelievable to me that there's any sense of job security for these guys. The standard should be turn this around in the last 8 games, not get this. For us to fire Joe Schoen, it's got to get really bad. Because it already is really bad.
The way it seems to be headed is, hey, we have talent better than is showing on the field.
Yeah, that's so gross. That's such a slimy thing that they're doing.
This is the way the organization is set up these days, Bobby. There's a lack of accountability from top to bottom, right? And so it's easy. And look, I heard about this in the offseason. I heard about it, at the end of last year. The finger pointing had already started. They're not getting enough out of the players that we have there. And that's where this seems to be headed now this year, right? And so...
Well, they fired 2 defensive coaches, and that position group has gotten worse. Deonte Banks is worse than he was last year. He went from bad to unplayable. Drew Phillips has gotten worse. Tyler Nubin has gotten worse. So it's the 2 position coaches that they blamed, this is the reason why we're not getting the best out of this talent. You fired and they've gotten worse. So it's just even that excuse should just ring hollow. Once you just peel back one layer of every line that they have, you should be oh yeah, that's kind of bogus.
Yeah. Well, they already got rid of the defensive coordinator. That relationship didn't work. They got rid of the outside linebacker coach. He was connected to the defensive coordinator. They got rid of the cornerback coach. The safeties coach. They got rid of the offensive line coach. The tight ends coach left. The running back coach decided to leave on his own volition, right? So now we're already half. Their staff has already been turned over halfway, right, or 3/4. The roster overall is just we can sit here and twist it any way we want. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Look what they're putting on the field. I mean, Corey Black, God bless him. He shouldn't be on the field. Deonte Banks shouldn't be on the field on any team at this point right now.
But here's where, when you even peel back, they're injured, right? It's well, the reality is the fact that Flott and Adebo and Holland's injuries hurt so much is now all your draft picks are not positives, right? So it's like, all right, well, all the draft picks are negatives, and now we're missing the guys who aren't negatives to the secondary, and we're totally screwed, right? Like, you shouldn't be screwed having Deonte Banks out there in year 3. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be screwed having Tyler Nubin and Dane Belton your safeties for 1 game. You should or 2 games. You shouldn't be screwed. Like you said, the Corey Black one is like the exception, but like having like Drew Phillips should be able to not be able to slide to outside corner when instead the 49ers went heavy personnel and they just took Drew Phillips off the game in favor of Jarek Bernard Converse and Corey Black.
I couldn't even remember JBC's name in an interview the other day.
I keep having to remind myself because he's one of those guys I just it's do you remember when Jarek Bernard Converse was playing for the Giants?
So as we stand here right now, you are running the Giants. What would you do at the trade deadline?
I would try and get anything I can for guys like Deonte Banks, Evan Neal, and Jalen Hyatt. I don't know how anybody would want to trade for Evan Neal or Jalen Hyatt. I could see some team being like, let's give Deonte Banks a fresh start because he is. It's not lack of talent there, right? Like, he is talented. Where Hyatt, I understand he's fast, but like, I didn't think that was going to work out, right? It's just he doesn't run routes, and he's rail thin. Evan Neal, it's like I did think that was going to work out when they drafted him, but then when you see the balance issues, you're like, that's not good. Balance is a bad thing, and we overlook that. With Deonte Banks, I've never been like, his physical ability is the reason why. Like, his physical ability is the reason why you liked him, is why, as much as I didn't like Deonte Banks in the draft, it's like I understand why a guy like Wink Martindale would want to get his hands on him.
And they made it easy for him. That's the thing. To me, it's a mental thing with him. They made it easy for him. They said, here, go out, play. Here's what we need you to do. Do this. And he was just able to go out and play. Now he's like a shell of himself. He seems like he has no confidence, doesn't want to be there. He's giving crap effort. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's not even bad. It's awful. Bob.
You look back and you saw, remember Eli Apple got traded for a 4th-round pick. That was in his 2nd year, though, correct? It was in 2nd year or 3rd year?
I think 3rd, but yeah.
Yeah, so like this is Deonte Banks year 3. Maybe you could have, trade him for a 5th-round pick or a 5th, 6th pick swap. I think
there's a 5th-year option if you start getting something out of him that you could then,
yeah. So like
that's pick up and have a little more control. So yeah, there is some value in Deonte Banks.
Yeah, so that's where I think there could be somebody willing to trade for Deonte Banks.
All right, so let's that leads me into, I'm going to give you trade hypotheticals and scenarios. Would you or wouldn't you is the game we're going to play here, okay? So I'll start with Deonte. Let's start because you are at the point where you trade guys away if you could, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
For anything, really.
Okay. Well, I'm going to list some guys where you wouldn't just do for everything. So here's where we go. Ready? Would you or wouldn't you? Deonte Banks, obviously you would trade him for something valuable, but would you the best you can get right now, let's say, is a 7th. Do you do that? See, I'm not going to make it easy for you.
Yeah, you know what? I would.
Deonte Banks for a 4th, and you're like, of course I'd trade Deonte Banks for a 4th, right? So the best you can get, let's say, is a 7th right now for Banks. Would you or wouldn't you?
I would. I'd send a message to the rest of this team. Like, it's not just about, like, are you going to get return on investment? Probably not. Even though you could use that to draft a kicker or whatever, and, to hold more bullets. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking but like, you know what? It would be like, this guy doesn't deserve to be on the team. Move on from him. Take anything for him and send some type of message. Like, yep, that guy's underperformed. He doesn't tackle. He lacks focus, and they're never going to be the ones to get it out of him. So I would trade him for.
Well, here's why I wouldn't. Okay, you say they'll never be able to get him. I want to see what we could get out of him when there's a new regime, a new coaching staff, whatever. If that's the case, if that's where this is headed, I would want to give it one last crack at Deonte Banks.
But it's not going to be a plus player. It might be a playable
something guy. There.
You're going to decline his option this year, so you have 1 year of him. Right. Maybe you can turn him into a playable player. He's never going to be an above-average player for you, so get whatever you can for him.
Did we not see an above-average player with Wink originally?
No, it's
We were getting there. I think it was trending towards there.
Overrating of a rookie class. That when he had to go and play number one wide receivers, he got beat for 80 yards.
But I'm not
per
asking
game.
him to be a number one.
I understand. When he was playing number two receivers, he was benefiting from a scheme that quarterbacks just get the ball out super quick. So if you're playing man inside leverage, there can be some good numbers there. But the film was never that good. And zone coverage is actually where he's always been his best. Because he's not, getting lost at the line of scrimmage. So, no, I'm all out on Banks.
Daniel Bellinger right now for a 5th or 6th.
I would have a hard time saying no to that either. Like, I understand. Like, there's an argument to say he should start over Theo Johnson right now, and I wouldn't argue with that. But he's an expiring contract. What are you like? Are you going to like even if you think he's better than Theo Johnson, or you're like, this is the guy I want moving forward at tight end 1 going forward? Like, that should be a position that you would hope to upgrade. Even though I like to have Bellinger around, but a 5th round pick, yeah, I mean, I would take that.
That's probably a no brainer. A 5th round. What about a 6th?
No, you got to get through. You got to get through this season, and I think he's someone that would be nice to keep around on a cheaper deal, even though the Giants. Again, maybe a new regime, but new regimes don't keep the old guys. But like, they've always shown a hesitancy of like, hey, guy isn't exactly what we want him to be. Like, Jason Pinnock's a great example. Jason Pinnock signed for dirt cheap for the 49ers. Could have kept him around for $1.5 million, right? Nick, John Feliciano could have kept him around for $3 million, a $3 million contract, stuff like that.
They got rid of Feliciano, I think, for like. They wouldn't give him an extra $500,000 that he got from the 49ers. And now it was a good veteran to have around. And that proved out to be a big mistake. He ended up having, I believe, 2 seasons as a starter in San Francisco.
So it's not like this big indictment when I say that on Bellinger. It's just simply like, he's not what I'm aiming for in my starting tight end. He's what I'm looking for in my second tight end. But is Daniel Bellinger going to want to stay around? Like, I think he would take a matching offer from somewhere else. This regime has shown a hesitancy to bring those types of guys back. And then a new regime, those are the types of guys that they don't bring back because they're, guys around the fringes that aren't theirs.
Wan'Dale Robinson for a 5th at this point.
Oh, a 5th? I thought you were going to make it difficult on me. Absolutely not. Number one, you got to get through this season. I think Wan'Dale is a useful player.
Oh, you're saying absolutely not? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think the argument has always
because here's the thing with Wan'Dale is he's on an expiring deal.
Agreed.
So that's why his value on the open market. Nobody's going to give you like a 3rd round pick for Wan'Dale Robinson right now.
Right.
Like you can't because it's a rental. Like the Eagles just did it for Jalen Phillips, who's an edge rusher, right? Who has been more successful in his career. And even then, that's a high pick, but that's also the end of the 3rd round, right? So you're talking basically 4th round pick for Jalen Phillips. I figure you got to go at least 5th for Wan'Dale at this point around.
No. Number one, you got to get through this season. Darius Slayton has been extremely disappointing this year. You would have no slot presence. I'm not trusting Ray McLeod to do that for the rest of the season. Like, as much as I'm not like, oh, we got to go get a wide receiver for Jackson Dart, I'm not going to.
Jalen Hyatt in the slot.
I hate when people say that. He's not a slot receiver. He runs straight. Does that seem like a skill set that fits in the slot?
Yeah.
I understand he did it at Tennessee. The slot receiver at Tennessee is an outside receiver in the NFL.
I agree. You can't do that. You can't do that to Jackson Dart and get rid of Wan'Dale. Also, Wan'Dale has grown on me this year. I kind of want him back as my slot receiver if the price is right.
His contract is so hard to figure out because the only comparable one is Khalil Shakir, and I think he got like $14 million per year. That's a lot of money for a guy.
He got 60 for 4, so 15 a year.
Yeah, that's a lot. I was because there's no other slot contracts that.
What about comparable. 4 for 48 for Wan'Dale? I'm thinking that's approximately what his range is.
But it's got to be in the context of the other expiring guys like Cordell Flott. Who's the other expiring guys that are Jermaine Illuminor? Like, it's got to be in the context of like, who of those guys are you bringing back? Yeah. So I think the conversation with Wan'Dale has always been all over the place. It's like, he's a useful player. He's, above average slot wide receiver. He should not be used down the field, right? In this whole offseason, like, downfield threat. One game against the Dallas Cowboys does not change my opinion on that. But he's a useful player, but he does have limitations to his game. Right? When you're at 5'8" and you have the shortest
Catch
arms in the
radius.
NFL, there's just limitations to your game. My goal for him is like get better as a yak player. You didn't see that yesterday, but you did see him fight his ass off, and you've
Did
seen him do
yesterday
that
not
this
feel
year.
like the past couple of years, by the way?
That's exactly what it was. That's what it was. It's
like I feel like that's what they told Dark because they played and he said that afterwards they played super soft and they just kept guys deep and protected the back end of the field. So I feel like they just told him, hey, you got to take what you get here, and they kept just like dumping the ball off, and then the 49ers would rally, and it felt like Wandale the past couple of years, and I even said this to him after the game. It felt like the past couple of years where you're just catching the ball and you're just getting teed off on.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, they had 10 third downs, 4 of them, or they had 10 They had 10 drives. 4 of them ended with third down throws that were well short of the sticks. They just, like you said, the 49ers defense was soft, and they never really challenged them on third down to be in conflict. From watching.
Bob Saleh is a good coordinator, by the way.
So. But the Giants just never challenged him, and they played into the 49ers game plan of like they always just had one or two bad plays on first and second down, and it put them behind the sticks, and they weren't able to overcome. So,
all right, now we're going to get to some difficult ones. Ready? Kayvon Thibodeau for a 2.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I did some research on this, so you're trading him to a playoff team. So I went and looked at 22, 23, and 24, the second-round picks from the playoff picks. His class actually has some good names in there. Cam Jurgens, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Trey McBride, Luke Goedeke, James Kick, Nick Bonito. Bonito overrated, but good player.
I mean, that's a second-round pick. That's a second-round pick. That's like a home run of all home runs.
I know. Nick Bonito will always get the Bobby Skinner shade thrown at him for the rest of his life.
As a Giant, if you're a Giants fan, you could only hope you hit a Nick Bonito in the second round.
If Nick Bonito makes the Hall of Fame, which he won't, I will be at his
doing him
ceremony, but like Andrew Thomas owns you. So when I started doing the exercise, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I will. That class is kind of sick. And then the last 2 years, like the good players, Jaden Reed, Osiris Torrance, DJ Turner, Zach Frazier. No, I wouldn't. And this team has one strength to it. I know it didn't show up yesterday. It is that edge group. I don't want to mess that up.
Obviously, what comes into the equation here is cost. Eventually, he's going to have to get paid. Even as a 50-year option, you get paid, right? Like this isn't just like, okay, you're on a rookie deal anymore. So that's partially what comes into it. But I think with his control, you at least have another year on the 50-year option. You have the potential for a franchise tag the year after. So you could drag this out now 2 more years down the line and get the most out of that trio. And so I'm with you. That's one guy I really don't want to trade. And look, I'm all into collecting assets. Like, I think the Eagles and the Ravens and the good teams, they know how to collect assets, to use it as currency. It's not necessarily like, well, look who's drafted in those rounds. They view it in a different way, like it's currency. We could move it later. It might help us get another player later because we have multiple third-round picks. It helps us, we could take lottery picks into the second and third round. And look, we don't need to hit every pick. If we have 9, 10 picks, which they do every other year, basically, those organizations, right? They're like, okay, well, if we could hit, half of some of these picks, then in one of these years, we load our roster, and that's what the Eagles just did this past. What was it, last year? Yeah, last year they had that ridiculous draft a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, same thing. The Devontae Smith draft, like they just add by numbers, and if you go look at it, some of these guys you never heard of, but you only harp on their wins. So yeah, I want to collect as much currency and assets as possible, but not necessarily for Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not in the business of getting rid of the good players, right? Like I agree. Dump players before, like Jalen Hyatt. If there was any type of offer for Jalen Hyatt in the preseason, and they didn't trade him, it's a joke.
Yeah. Well, that's just you're overrating your own guys and worrying about the perception more than been improving your team. All right, here's the last one. Said you don't like getting rid of good players. Dexter Lawrence for a 2 and a 4.
Nope. A 2 and a 4? Are you out of your damn mind? I wouldn't even do it for 2 first-round picks.
What?
That is the most overreactionary thing I've ever seen.
Obviously,
in 7 years of covering the team.
Well, you have to understand the Dexter Lawrence situation. He's out of guaranteed money. You basically have to redo his contract.
Yeah,
probably.
do it. Redo his contract. Give him all the money.
You're going to have to pay him a ton of money.
Yep.
Okay.
Give him top of the defensive tackle contract market. That is since
not everyone's going to agree with you right now because
I know
this year you're going to have to pay him top of the market defensive tackle money.
Cool, sick, awesome.
All right. How about I amend that to a 1 and a 3?
Nope, not even close. Still? Again, 2 first-round picks, and I'm saying, what team is it? Is it the Titans? Like maybe.
Right.
It's absolutely not. It's the most. It's not. It's obviously not the majority of the fan base, but any suggestion of that is the most overreactionary take I've seen in 7 years of doing Giants content. So absolutely not. Dex is going to get out of this funk. And he's going to continue to be a top 3 defensive tackle in the NFL.
I'm probably with you on this. I mean, if somebody comes with a massive haul that includes a first-round pick, I would think about it. But the goal for the Giants should be, especially with Jackson Dart as a rookie quarterback next year, year 2, the goal of this organization needs to be to compete for the playoffs next year. And in order to compete for the playoffs next year, that's going to have to involve Dexter Lawrence, and Dexter Lawrence in the middle of the defense, and Dexter Lawrence playing at a high level. So I do not want to get rid of him, and that's not going to be the way that I would go about collecting assets. If I had to, you say, we need to get assets. We have to find a way to get assets. I would go the Kayvon route before I went to Dexter Lawrence.
This always drives me nuts. No offense, not trying to single you out. How strong does defensive tackle play translate to wins? It hasn't for New York Giants. Well, left tackle play hasn't. Good safety play out of Xavier McKinney hasn't. Good edge rushing hasn't. What does then outside of quarterbacks? The Giants need to build a whole team. Do not blame the best players for your lack of success.
Yeah, I mean, look. You can't sit there, and I always thought it was a stupid argument. Look, Saquon doesn't, give you wins. Yeah, no, unless you're a quarterback, a single player does not necessarily get you wins. You need a good team around. It's about having a great team in general, and you have to be better than just one player. So, 100% on that. Let's go to the wide receiver market. Okay, are you at the point where you're basically going to say no to all of these?
Well, yes, because Jalen Waddle is not going anything more than a first. So
I didn't even put him on this list because of that. Because I don't want to create a scenario where I'm going to give you you're going to really give up a first. Giants have a top 10 pick, a top 6 pick. You're not going to trade that, right? So now we're talking about two twos for Jalen Waddle.
No.
Okay.
You're talking about again, there's wide receiver trades happen every offseason. If that's how you want to upgrade the room, wait till the offseason, and there's someone who will come for less than that.
All right. So how about this one? Another big one. I know I heard he's not available, but Brian Thomas Jr.'s had a really rough year. I can't say a first-round pick because, again, the Giants are picking so high. That's not realistic. A 2 and a future 3 for Brian Thomas.
No, because if he was available for that would be a huge red flag. I am going to say no to essentially all of these, except for one that you put on the list. And I love Brian Thomas in the draft, had him as a top 10 player, and they're not going to give him away for that. And if they were, that would be like, all right, there's way more here to the story than just he winced at a couple passes over the middle. So my answer to that would be no.
I would think about that one.
If you're saying he's the player he was last year, I would say yes.
I would probably do that one. But to be honest with you,
if he's the player he was last year,
but if he's coming in, I would put it up to the new regime to make sure that the reasons that the Jaguars get rid of him isn't a problem here, right? And that they get everybody in line and create an atmosphere and environment of accountability and rules where you can't just do whatever the hell you want, which is kind of the way it is now. But yeah, a talent like that. The idea that he has that kind of control, that intrigues me.
If you're telling me he's what he was last year or close to that, I'm saying yes.
Yeah.
And maybe he still is, but that's the reason why the Jags aren't trading him. So
Right. I don't think he's available. It's just that was just a total hypothetical. I just wanted to see what you said. Chris Olave for a second.
this is the one where I actually go back and forth because this is
Okay.
it's one single pick. You do have to pay him, you probably have to, probably re-sign into a contract as soon as he gets
He will
over
cost
here.
money. He will cost you getting any idea of re-signing Wan'Dale Robinson for sure.
Which again, like I would be fine with that
I
trade
know.
off.
I'm just saying that's one of the consequences. You're trading for him, and then you're going to have to let Wan'Dale walk. You can only pay so much a wide receiver.
The concussions are a worry, but I would probably do that because concussion. It's not like lower leg injuries or something like Sterling Shepard. Remember, in 2019 he had 2 concussions that year after having them in college, and it's like he hasn't had or at least he hasn't reported a concussion since. So I would say yes to Chris Olave.
Okay.
And even if he does get another concussion, these guys don't retire, even though we all on Twitter say they should in the moment after they get the concussion. They just never do.
They want to play as long as they can.
Who's the last player that retired young due to concussions? Was that 49ers linebacker like 10 years ago?
Did you consider Andrew Luck, or that was just injuries in general?
I think that was he couldn't throw. Yeah. That was his shoulder.
It was more.
And even then, that was him at 30.
Injuries. Yeah. Here's what I heard on Olave, by the way. They don't really also, he's kind of in the boat of a little bit lesser, but of Jalen Waddle, where they don't really want to trade him. Like, you're going to have to come with an over-the-top, like, big offer to get Chris Olave. Like, they're more willing to trade Rashid Shaheed. He's a free agent. He makes sense, right? We'll take an asset for him. But they now have a young rookie quarterback. Tyler Shuck is starting. They're trying to see if he could play and where they stand with that. Like, they don't really want to get rid of their top receiver. It doesn't make, like, we're looking at it from the Giants' perspective. Like, think about it from a Giants' perspective. That's like saying, like what we talked before, of getting rid of Wan'Dale Robinson right now. He's their best, like, he's the best that they have to work with Jackson Dart. You really want to take away your best receiver from a young quarterback. So that seems to be the stance of where the Saints, from me talking to people around the league, of where the Saints stand on wanting to trade Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed, different story. 6th round pick right now, Rashid Shaheed. Gives you something for this year, but not signed after this year. Do you do it, Bobby?
Nope, I'm not trading anything that's a just this year. And Rashid Shaheed, like you said, is an expiring contract. He's 27 years old. Like, I would just wait. If you really want Rashid Shaheed, I would wait to try and grab him in free agency. Because if the Saints are willing to trade him for a 6, that means they're willing to let him hit free agency. Go and get him then. I do not think Jackson Dart's development is going to be screwed from playing 8 games with this receiver group. I think Jackson Dart's offensive line has done him more favors than any group of wide receivers could. And he's had 15 touchdowns in 6 games. I think he can survive. Again, young quarterbacks' developments are ruined by terrible offensive lines and bad offensive play calling or offensive philosophy. It's not by a subpar wide receiver group.
Yeah. And by the way, I actually just throwing this in out of nowhere. I think that Mike Kafka's done a pretty decent job with play calling this year. And I know I heard you say it, and I'm with you. And trust me, I'm very critical of the Giants offense when need be. I didn't mind the run that much yesterday. They have 3 timeouts. You get, a decent first down run after the interception. Not the end of the world. I wasn't totally against it, thinking that it was just like, oh, that's a stupid play call. I really wasn't.
No, if there's the offensive, it's that 3rd down and then kicking the field goal when they were down 20. But
the kicking the field goal was just no guts. Like, there's no other way to say it. Here's the amazing part, and we've said this a million times. I still don't know when the Giants are going for it on 4th down or not 4 years into this regime.
They don't. It
just seems random. Brian
Daboll's a conservative head coach.
Yeah.
You'll see they'll probably be higher on the 4th down numbers overall, but that's simply because they're down in the 4th quarter and there's situations where they have to. It'd be interesting to see what his tendencies are in game neutral situations because he's been very conservative in 4th down.
All right, these are 2 that I don't know, that I shouldn't say, that I get the impression that they're not really available. So you probably have to give up a little more than maybe they're worth to get them right now. And again, this one is because they're both with young quarterbacks. Don't want to leave young quarterbacks without their receivers. Calvin Ridley.
You would have to pay me to take Calvin Ridley.
Fourth round pick.
You would have to
Fifth
pay
round
me.
pick. Sixth round pick. Seventh round pick.
30 years old. He has drops,
that
right?
dude is
That's an issue with
31,
this
so I
team.
wouldn't take him. I think he's a declining player, but
he's an unfocused player. He's even in his prime, he was overrated. He has a $26 million cap hit next year. Absolutely not. There's nobody I want further away from this team than Calvin Ridley.
DJ Moore for a fifth rounder. Now, again, I don't see why the Chicago Bears, who the Giants play this week, are going to get rid of DJ Moore. They're actually playing pretty well. Yes, they have a boatload of receivers and guys to get the ball to, but that's kind of a good problem? Guys are likely to get injured. They're not going to get rid of him unless it's a deal that they're like, oh my God, we have to do this. So why are they going to get rid of DJ Moore right now? I get it. He makes a lot of money, but they're in a position where they're fighting for a playoff spot right now. So DJ Moore for a fifth, though, which I think is generous. I mean,
yeah, that's why I don't love playing this game, because he's not going to be available for a fifth. I've been a DJ Moore.
Let's just say he is for one reason or another. They decide, you know what? We want Roma Dunze. We see him. We think we're better if he steps into a bigger role.
Well, so here's my question: is the Giants get to the offseason, would you sign DJ Moore for a 2-year, $52 million contract?
No chance,
because that's his cap hits the next 2 years. And if you traded for him, you'd be of the mindset of keeping him for the next 2 years. And he's 29 years old.
So you're saying no? I wouldn't want that contract. Look, I already told you I don't want to give up assets. So I definitely would not. I would rather sign a DJ Moore like type guy in the offseason. DJ Moore is not the player that he probably was 3 years ago. I'll sign a comparable player for probably half of that price in the offseason. So me, definitely not.
Yeah, I guess wait until the offseason and make a wide receiver move.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Bobby's you're basically not trading for anybody. There's
2-7.
I agree. There's very little scenarios where you would trade for somebody. Now, Jalen Waddle shakes free and becomes available. You become more inclined to change your mind.
Yeah, if they're given,
is that the one guy like you'd really change your mind for?
Yeah, I would trade for Jalen Waddle. He's a really good player. He's young. He's under control. Like he is the player where in
next year's number one for Jalen Waddle.
No, not a number one. No.
Okay.
All right.
Well, a pick like theoretically, like in a trade, a pick the following year loses a round's value, right?
I guess, saying. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a possibility you could be in the top 10 again next year, and then it's a total disaster, right?
Yeah. I'm not doing that with the New York Giants.
I agree. With the situation they're in, they can't do that.
I have some questions for you.
All right. Let's finish.
And one person actually, let me get the star chats. He actually asked it, so I'm gonna. Sorry if you guys already talked about. Did Brian Daboll cry? What the hell was going on there? I watched the video. It didn't look like he was crying at all. And Pat Leonard asked him what his tears were about, and Brian Daboll looked like the most confused person in the world. He's like, "What are you? Who? What did you say again?"
I didn't see him walk in, so I have to say I don't know. But when I did look at him, and when Pat said that, you could see his face was red. Now that could mean a lot of different things. Like not necessarily tears.
Yeah, his face is.
And also, by the way, just to address it, I'm pretty sure, like 95%, I saw Deonte Banks walk into the trainer's room, and I was like, oh man, I missed him. And I turned to someone and said, that was Deonte, and he was wearing pants.
So that was going to be my next question is, did Deonte Banks sneak out not wearing any pants?
I'm pretty sure, unless my mind is playing tricks on me, he had a hat and maybe like a sweatsuit on. I don't remember specifically looking at his pants, but I also think to myself, I probably would have noticed if he wasn't wearing pants.
Well, not wearing pants around your ankles. That's more egregious than wearing, people don't know what we're talking about.
I think two things have gotten conflated here. There's probably a time before I saw him leave where on one side of the room is the showers and the restrooms and stuff over there. And I saw him getting dressed at one point, and I actually do remember seeing him in his boxers, right? And then I was like, oh, I'll wait till he's done. I'll get him later. Well, you'll talk to him later. And so maybe he went into the shower bathroom area at that point without the pants. But I saw him go into the training room, which is the room on the other side, a few minutes, like probably like 5 minutes later. And so I think, and that's where you can kind of disappear out the back door. You can't disappear out the back door from the bathroom in the shower area. You can't. There's no exit there.
Okay. Notes in the bathroom. Good to know. Don't be in the bathroom if there's a fire. Also,
it would be weird if there was an exit from the bathroom now.
But I could see the Giants installing like a secret door in the bathroom. Like, you got to get out of here in a rush. Do what you got to do. The other thing, last thing from like post game press conferences, Graham Gano to Ryan Dunleavy says, I've only missed 2 kicks the last 2 years. It's actually been 3. Basically said I didn't miss any in warm-ups and was like, I guess, seemed miffed at the idea that people aren't happy with his performance. I mean, what's the deal with that? I guess it seems kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I would expect from Graham Gano, though, in a way. That's kind of his personality and his attitude.
It sure showed like a week ago, or what was a week ago or 2 weeks? Yeah, a week ago when they asked if, like, do you think you're ready? And people are worried about you being ready. He looked like,
yeah, why are you asking me this?
Yeah.
How dare you ask me that? Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's kind of the way he's been. Remember when he got injured against the Commanders? He went up there, and when he came out in a press conference, and he was like, I was perfectly fine. I don't understand why you guys are asking me these questions. Well, we're like, no, you had a previous injury. He's like, yeah, it was to a different body part. And he was very defiant in that way, too. Like, yeah, but like when you have, I forget what the order of the injuries was, but when you have like a sore hamstring, it could lead to other problems in your legs, right? Because you're overcompensating, and he was very defiant that could be the case as well. So this doesn't surprise me at all.
It's like he knows his body terribly. The Jets game where they're like, yeah, I got to have surgery after the season, and then he goes out and
needed surgery like the next week.
Yeah, literally got surgery the next week. Remember every time the Giants have beat the Panthers, he gets to do the first press conference because he's mad at the way they handled his treatment there too. So he always takes nice to take a dig at the Panthers.
But you know what? Like when we talk about, I know you say this and I say it too. There just seems to be a culture of lack of accountability, right? Like that's just the vibe you get. Yeah. And then just when I was listening to Jackson Dart, and I'm not saying he's unaccountable because when they asked him how he played, he said, doesn't matter, we lost. But I heard him talking, and he's like, we're close. We could win all these games. And I'm thinking to myself, this is obviously the message of what they're telling him, like Brian Daboll is telling this group behind the scenes. Like, we're close. We're right there, guys. We just need to do a couple things better. When the reality is that's not the case. They weren't close yesterday. The game was never close. They got blown out the week before. Like, they're not close to being good. They're 2-7 for the 3rd straight year, Bobby. That's not close to being good. And he keeps telling them that they're like, that's their message. The players needs the message to me should be, hey guys, we're not even close to being good. We're not even close to doing enough to being where we want to be. We have to get exponentially better. Not like, oh, we're that close, guys. So to me, it all comes back, and that's why you hear people like Graham Gano saying the things he's saying. Hey, I've only missed a couple kicks. Well, you just missed a kick in a huge spot. You've been injured when they needed you, right? So it just seems to be part of the culture of that the Giants have created there, and that's not conducive, in my opinion, to winning.
I've got 2 more questions before we hit the chat, and there's a lot of questions from the chat I do want to hit. I've been starring them.
Well, we'll do them. We'll bang quickly. Then.
Bronx Boy brings this up. They don't even. I'm a Bronx Boy too. They don't even coach him to slide, and I think he's talking about Jackson Dart there.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Dart obviously is in control of what he does on the field, and you can't blame coaching for everything. But, dude, he's taking some stupid-ass hits in the 4th quarter, and it's not just design quarterback runs, right? It's at the things that was like, hey, there's pick and choose, and he is at the sideline, he's going out of bounds, and he just lowers his head and puts it into somebody, and then does it the same thing on the next play. And I know that there's been excuses made for like end of games last year, like, oh, he was actually concussed, right? That's been told to me, he's actually concussed. So like I think he seems like the type of guy who would hide a concussion too. Him going to the sideline and the way he was crouching down on TV, as someone who has been concussed, that's a like, dude, I am trying to hold this together. Like that did not look good to me. They didn't get like is at what point like is it not become like he's going to get injured at some point the way he plays. Is that being like really coached into him? His dad was arguing about it, and my replies was somebody saying, oh, he's not going to buy into that losing culture. Like, is
I
that
saw
something
that.
that they're alarmed by? Because they kind of should be, right?
No, I don't think they are. I think they're, and this is why, they're not pounding it into him. And that don't clip that. This is why they're not, preaching to him all the time. Hey, we can't do that. We can't do that. We can't do that. They're more concerned with sapping his aggressiveness than the occasional, hey, I'm putting my shoulder down. And I saw what Dart's dad was saying. And I understand you want to create a culture and a personality with the team. That doesn't mean you can't go out of bounds instead of putting your shoulder down into a linebacker when you're going to get 2 yards on the sideline. Like there's a difference between being tough and playing tough and just doing something that's obvious and smart. But I think they're so worried about sapping that aggressiveness from his game that they don't want to coach that out of him. And I think it's a big mistake. On top of the fact that, dude, we're calling, and I had players texting me former players last week, this week, late in games, man. Come on. You're down 17 points. You don't need to be calling quarterback draws and having your quarterback run the ball near the goal line on every play. Like those are hits that are going to add up to him. Like he's young now and he can maybe live through them. But long term, it's a terrible approach. Terrible, in my opinion.
Yeah, we dealt with it with Daniel Jones, right? I remember in the beginning, like even when you saw it at Duke, and I was like, it fired me up. And as the years went along, I'm like, I don't get fired up by that, especially last year when you had the injury guarantee. And again, I lie to myself. He'll do it in some game where it's close, and I'll be sitting here, fist pumping at my desk. But it's just like, don't like that. Last question I have before we get into the chat. This is a smaller one and might be something to just pay attention to or ask about.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone Tracy, less carries than Devin Singletary. It's obviously there's a whole overrating your rookie draft class, but it is kind of wild that Tracy went from RB1 to not even being a true 50-50 with Cam Scatterbo to now he's not even getting more carries than Devin Singletary.
Yeah. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm pulling up snaps-wise to see where they were snaps-wise.
It might be similar, but still, like you would think Tracy
31 to 25 in favor of Singletary. I think a lot of it, part of that was because of game situation.
But that's crazy. A guy who was their clear running back one with Singletary last year, someone who was viewed as a draft win, and he was the one guy I was able to concede. Was like, he's a day 2, day 3 draft win, and now he's in reality that's RB3.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and it's definitely something we'll have to keep an eye on here. But I will say this: it's become a trend here. Like this is what we saw with Daniel Bellinger, right? And then even they tried at one point to start phasing out Micah McFadden, and it happened eventually with Hyatt. And it happened with Slayton at one point and Shepard. Like once you get phased out here, it's like you basically lose all value. And it's almost like I'm starting to feel that way, even though he hasn't been completely phased out and they need him now with Tyrone Tracy. It's like once they decide you're not the guy with this regime, it's been hard to get anything from those guys afterwards.
Yeah.
So to me, it almost says something about the way they operate behind the scenes. It's almost like they put all the attention on the starters and everyone else is an afterthought. And then as a result, you're unable to then get much from anybody who's not considered, the starter or the 1A guy, right. Which is a problem. It's a problem with your overall regime, your program. Let's
get into some of the questions.
Okay.
Q&A. We'll go from the top, some of the super chats we had. Do you think this is obviously hypothetical, but we're getting down to like big decision time, and I'm sure John Mayer is going through it right now. Do you think Tisch will be more involved with Mayer's cancer treatment going on? Same like in 2021.
Yeah. Steve Tisch, no, he's been less involved in recent years. Like they've had their own personal issues that he was dealing with. I think more so you've seen him around more. John Tisch has been a little bit more present, in my own estimation, maybe than previously. So I think if it comes down to it, we can see John Tisch potentially being a little bit more involved.
Great. Now I got to go Google a bunch of John Tisch. What's he all about?
He's been more of the guy. I think his actual title is COO. He's been more like the money guy.
Hotel guy, from what I just saw on Google.
What, hotel guy?
Yeah, he's a hotel guy.
Yeah, he ran the Lowe's part of their business, I believe. Yeah.
Yep, Lowe's, not the home improvement company.
No, the hotel.
Good morning, Jordan. Can we please get Dart of wide receivers? And we talked on this. Michael said asking about trading for a wide receiver or one of Seattle's corners. I don't think they're trading for a corner, right? When they got Flott and Debo.
Yeah, I mean the hope. I think Flott just seemed to run out of time there, so I think he should be back fairly soon. And while Debo, who knows, he could be out another week. I don't think it's not anything long term. If it was, he would have already been placed on IR. So the hope is that those two guys come back relatively soon. Again, giving up assets for another guy just to it doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going to read these 3 chats in a row. They're not super chats. Take the Yankee hat off. You're from Philly, Jersey, scumbag. Yankees hat, pretending he's not a Philly fan. Shake my head. Jordan doing the show early since his Eagles were on a bye week. What do you have to say? It's one of my favorite themes of the show.
I'm from Monmouth County, New Jersey. It's not Philly, okay? It's not even close. I have a Rangers thing over there. I have a Knicks poster here. Grew up an all New York fan, and half my friends' parents commuted to Manhattan every day. So it's just not true. Now, my wife is from Philadelphia. That's a different story, but she also doesn't care about sports.
For a team that was only a QB away last year, we now have a QB, and the result is the same. Oh, and by the way, DJ is playing good. Common denominator is the regime/coaching. They must go, says Greg, 1994.
Yeah, I mean, this was obvious. You knew they were way more than a quarterback away, and the fact that they were saying that was laughable. You play along because, hey, we'll judge them on this is their feeling. But we all knew. Like if you had eyes and you watched, you knew that wasn't the case, right?
Yeah,
right. Am I right?
Here's the thing: is they were a great quarterback away from competing. So is every team in the NFL. That was my whole argument last year. It's like, what are they away from? Winning 2 more games? Like, what are we away from? A wild card team?
Yeah, they should be. They should be like a 6-7 win team this year if they didn't blow games and they had better coaches. But their team is just not good enough.
Yeah,
like they're not a playoff contender basically with any coach.
And by the way, if Joe Schoen does a bye-week press conference, which I would be surprised at this point, if he brings up the schedule, please say, "Hey, you lost to the Saints." Okay. They have 1 win.
Yeah.
This is for me. How is a second rounder will miss on more value than Waddle? I don't understand. Number one, Jalen Waddle is not available for a second round pick, so that's kind of a huge part of the conversation. Joe de Blasio of 4IY. Number one. Number 2 is you can't go with the mindset of like, we just suck at second round picks, so we're not going to take them anymore. But again, Jalen Waddle is not available for.
If that's the case, then you need to get rid of the general manager. If that's the approach you're going to have, we can't hit on second round picks, then you can't. Then you're doomed. You can't. Then you're doomed. You can't win that way. You can't just buy every player and bring every player in on $20 million a year. By the way, the Giants, think about it. They have a bad roster. They're not even good enough as a roster as a whole. And guess what? They're up against the cap because all these positions they had to bring in guys. They brought in guys at high prices. They have a rookie quarterback. They're up against the cap. You can't bring in theoretically, I'd take a proven player any day of the week for a second rounder. If there was no money implications or nothing else to it, sure. Give me all the good players I can have. But eventually, you're going to reach a limit. The Giants are up against the cap. Anyone think their roster is good enough from top to bottom?
Eric Campbell says, how is the defense this bad with no changes? You did just get off the Brian Daboll Zoom call where he said he's staying with Shane Bowen.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't even feel like there's ever been any slight suggestion of them making a move off of Shane Bowen, right?
No.
It's like I asked you a couple weeks after the Broncos game. It's like, did that conversation even take place of a suggestion of that? Right? It doesn't feel like that
I
at
think they're
all.
pot committed. They already got rid of a defensive coordinator. Who they going to install as the defensive coordinator? Are they actually going to? Do they really have a chance of being better by switching coordinators right now in season? Right? Remember, and I know people are like Andre Patterson. Well, they have the 32nd ranked run defense again, and it's a guy who, by the way, they didn't even give an interview when they had the DC job open. So doesn't that tell you what they ultimately think about him as a potential defensive coordinator? So I feel like they're pot committed at this point. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I mean, if you had an option, I mean, at this point, like it's like you would think this might be the last ditch effort, but it doesn't appear that they're going to do it.
Yeah, fire through a couple of these. Trade Hyatt for a backup kicker. Yes,
that's a good idea. I think if you could do that, it's about what he could get for him right now.
I would take it. I trade Kayvon, not going to pay him long term. I think that's why I would keep him. I would like to keep him long term.
And you also at least can stretch it along for 2 more years and have it at 2 more years at reasonable numbers. That's why I wouldn't do it at the moment. So, but I do understand that line of thinking.
Sean Caffrey, if depth is the issue, trade down round 1 pick for more. The draft has not even been set. You can't even have that conversation right now, but would not be. So let's
I'm a proponent of that. Add as much draft capital as possible. Oakland interested in Evan Neal, maybe Myers trade. Yeah, come on, man. Not Jacoby Myers, expiring contract. You don't want it. He wants to get paid big money.
For Evan Neal, though.
And B, Evan Neal does not have that value. Come on.
Have you heard anything on the Neal Banks Hyatt front?
I just heard that Shane was talking to teams trying to convince them to have interest. Hey, you have any interest in any of these guys, And
you should just package them all. Like all 3 of them go to, the 49ers for one.
Do they have any value whatsoever is the kind of the question, Bobby.
It would just be very funny, like when a team has 3 first-round picks, they have the press conference all holding up the jersey. I would pay hundreds of dollars to have a picture of Evan Neal, Jalen Hyatt, and Deontay Banks holding up Las Vegas Raiders jerseys. I would pay so much money. I need to replace the Talking Giants pictures I got rid of here. That would be it. I would blow it up nice and big. I'd pay for the $25 photo off of AP Photos. Like it would be
maybe like the 3 of them with their heads down, like from the backside, like with their arms around each other and their numbers showing.
Oh my God, it would be the most beautiful picture ever known to man. Can Ty see him punch somebody against his dug? People forget the Giants were sued for that.
I got no comment on that
one. Let's see. What else do we
Parking
got?
spots are valuable, though, Bobby. You know that, right?
Yes. All right. Let me see. It's kind of all just trade stuff, which we've hit basically everything.
Yeah.
Bobby, admit the L on Slayton. Bad move. Yeah, if he keeps playing like this, bad move.
Agreed. I mean, I thought Slayton would be a good player. That's kind of the price for what he is, but he's making big mistakes, and they kind of need the veteran to not make those big mistakes.
I don't even look at the money, right? The money as the cap rises, we look at those contracts, and I'm like, look at the other receiver. Like that's not a lot of money. The issue is he keeps having bad performances, stacking them up, right? He's always had some bad performances, but this is just stacking them when he's needed.
You can't have it when they need it. Like he's a veteran now. When they need it, he's got to be the guy that comes through.
Yeah, and
he hasn't been.
Bobby, admit we all thought the roster was good after cutdown day. Disagree.
We thought it was better and a little deeper.
It is a little better and deeper.
I mean, I don't know what you picked. I still picked 6 wins.
Yeah, I think I did 6 wins too. Or
so
maybe 5.
How good do we really think it is? We thought they were a 6-win team.
Every year, the record graphic gets like ridiculed. Like, how do you think they're this bad? And then every year we're overshooting.
We're overshooting it.
I don't think there has anyone who has picked the less wins than they've had.
Who was it that didn't
since
Dunleavy
2022
pick like 3 or Connor or something? Like they picked really low.
Dunleavy has usually
Leonard last year maybe. Leonard last year maybe did.
Well, we don't interview him. By the way, Leonard is the crying thing is crazy. What was the other thing he said that was wild the other day? It is very funny, the fan base reacting to him in a year like this, where it's like, yeah, make up more, go do more insane stuff, It's like, how do you? Oh, that was what it was. I got a kick out of this. I think I bookmarked it for this. Is after the press conference today, he put Brian Daboll, still the Giants head coach, says Shane Bowen is still the Giants. That little still the Giants head coach, that got a kick out of me. But there was something, the crying thing was crazy, and there was another thing that he said that I was like, that's a little too far, but I can't remember what it was.
Andre Patterson, the accountability.
I mean, I do think that's an issue within the team. It's like,
no, I agree.
And like, because Carl Banks said what he said, and then the whole respect thing is wrong, but like, it is funny that the team's reaction to that is like, hey, we got to defend our guy, right? Like, hey, go look up, like having Dion Dargan go and look up the nose tackle sack stats since the 80s is fucking damn it.
Oh, done. Bobby, you almost made it.
1 hour. That's like, like if I was Dion Dargan, I'd be like, no, just say he gets double teamed a lot and whatever. Just answer the questions, right? Only 10 of like, there's only a maximum of 800 fans who care about the Giants defensive tackles press quotes. Hell, the Giants didn't even put that out. It was thank God for SNY videos got put it out there. We care about that. The people who are on Twitter, 99.9% of the Giants fan base has never heard an Andre Patterson press clip. 95% don't know who he is. That's an insane.
What I do agree with though is the idea if they're wasting their time behind the scenes worrying about these things, you're not worried about the right things. You know what I mean? Like this shouldn't even be like more than like a 1 second conversation for them. That's it. Any other time and energy wasted on what we need to say publicly and we need to back him to the hilt or come up with anything is a waste of time.
Yep. Agreed. When you pushing belly tight end one agenda, Bobby, Theo drops, kill drop. I think I'm on that train now. Now, granted, when Bellinger's healthy, they basically run 2 tight ends.
I really like Bellinger, but I do think for where this team is, they need to play Theo Johnson.
Theo's going to keep playing, and he's so frustrating because it's like if you just had 1 drop this year instead of 5, and like you said, the drop stats are very conservative, right? They don't label everything a drop, right? Like some of the sites, they might not even consider that Slayton play a drop because the defender got his hand in there.
Like the one last week against the Eagles, like our ESPN, I had to look it up, but they did call that a drop. Usually like a play like that, they don't even call it a drop because it's like a contested catch kind of.
If he just caught the ball,
that's how tough it is to get 5 drops.
If he just caught the ball, he'd be the prize of the draft class outside of Malik Neighbors. He would be being overrated by the fan base, right? Yeah. Like if
he's not much after the catch. I know he made a play after the catch yesterday, but he's not much after the catch kind of guy. Hasn't proven to be, at least.
So I won't go as far as Bronx guy says play Fedoni. I do not want to play Thomas Fedoni over either of those guys.
Yeah, Thomas Fedoni played some snaps yesterday, and we didn't really notice, right?
Yeah, I'm not a Fedoni guy.
11 snaps, but yeah, I mean. Look, they need Theo Johnson. He's a player in the league. We've reached that point where we know that. Now they just need to try to maximize that. So the only way to do that is to actually give him playing time and experience. And maybe you have to take some of the lumps for rewards, greater rewards down the line.
All right, we're about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was just pretty long.
What do you got planned for the rest of the day?
Not much. I mean, Brian Burns is talking right now. I got my father's birthday, so we're going to take him out to dinner.
Oh, happy birthday to Jordan's dad.
Yeah, a solid 81 years old.
Yeah, he had a weekend off. Didn't have to watch his Eagles.
Not an Eagles fan.
All right, happy birthday, Mr. Raanan.
There we go.
Close us out.
What do you got going on?
I'm going to start working. That's the one thing about a bad season is I don't I can start working on the film review early because it's not needing to do all this other stuff. I need to buy an air compressor, and then my sister got a new apartment, so I'm going to buy her a TV. So that's
Look at you. Look at that. What a brother.
Oh, TVs are the ultimate because they're so cheap now, but there's still a stigma like, oh, you new TV.
It does.
It's
It sounds
the
great,
ultimate, like, wow, great gift, but it's not crazy.
Yeah, I get like my brother a ticket to like a Knick game, and it costs more than a TV.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Yeah, unless you're getting nosebleeds.
All right, you're listening to Breaking Big Blue. I'm Jordan Raanan. As always, like, subscribe, tell your friend. Breaking Big Blue times Giants Nation show. Bobby Skinner. See you next time.